that. All right. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah wa rabbil alamin. Akibatun mustaqim. Allah fi kulli umri yasta'in. Allah fi kulli umri amjid. Innahu rabbi ladhi yuhibbu mu'min. Ladhi yusalli wa ibadatuhu wa salawatuhu. Muhafid. Allah Ta'ala wa anzala kitaban furqanan lil annas. And Muhammadan who was Sayyidina Makbubana wa innahu kana rasulan nabiyyan. Salawatu Allah Ta'ala wa salamuhu alayhi. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi katu. Lil ikwani wa akhwati fi din. Wa salamu ala mani tabahuda. Lil ikwani wa akhwati fi Afrika wa Europa wa Asia wa America wa West Indies wa kuli makan. Halim wa salim bikum. Rahmatu Allah Ta'ala wa barakatuhu alaikum. Thank you, my dear brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum, my brother Salam. And those who will show up in the future and from safety of their homes or at work. We know in America, there and in Europe as well, in the Western world, the holiday season is approaching. So we understand that. And, just be careful out there. The virus is still running rapid. Don't be foolish. Today, my dear brothers and sisters, I will be giving an account. I'm privileged to do this. I've always wanted to do this, to talk about a beautiful ancestral sister that many of us, especially Black folks, don't know much about. We hear, but we don't know really what she was about. And it's incumbent upon us to understand many of our ancestral sisters because they've been pushed aside for the modern, reckless sisters that are now role models to our sisters. And the ancestral sisters like Sheba, Saba, there's many names that we can call them, Makeda in Geese, are taking a back seat, not looked at, not thought about, not emulated. And this is a shame that this is happening. And before I start, I put something here. I'm trying to prove a point here about something because we have to, because we're talking about Islam. But however, we have to include the Torah and something about that as well, and the Injil, because you cannot talk about the Queen of Sheba, as everybody like to call her, and the prophet Solomon, alayhi salatu wassalam. You have to mention certain things, and I'm trying to prove a point here. If you look in the chat, I wrote a verse in Hebrew. This verse in Hebrew belongs to the Song of Solomon and chapter 1, verse 5. Well, I'm trying to make a point to that. I want to put a rest to my brothers and sisters who are Hebrew and Christians who still kind of have back in their mind that they're cursed because the Tubab has told them in translating the documents that you are cursed by God. And I want to show you how this is a fallacy that you have to get over. And you should, if you're Christian and Hebrew, my brothers and sisters, You should learn the original text in Hebrew so that way you can't get bamboozled like you have been for hundreds of years. This verse here that you see in Hebrew that I have here means I'm black but comely. Black but comely. But the Tubab scholars, racist Tubab scholars, have changed that to be I'm dark but comely. And then they have even added to it by saying that the prophet Solomon admits to being cursed. This is not in the original Hebrew either. I'm not meaning to give a class on Hebrew. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make a point for my brothers and sisters who are Christians and Hebrews. You have been bamboozled for so long. Even the stories of the people of color, you do not know because you go only by what the scholars, your scholars who are Tubab, say. And even some of the black scholars who only follow after their white teachers. And so you only go by what they tell you and you don't know the original text. I'm giving you something there, so something for you to think about. When you get to Hebrew and you begin to learn it, you'll find out many things in there. When you get to Hebrew that's written in the original text, you'll find that the translations by the Tubab scholars are horrendous. They're not. They have been what we call in Arabic estadal. They've been changed around maliciously. This is what this word means in Arabic. It's been changed around maliciously. And when you begin to find that, we've had sisters, I remember now almost it's close to 10 years now, when she went and studied Hebrew, she almost fell on her face talking about what she found out and how the translation been butchered. And to go further on this, there's 140 different versions. How can it be? 140 different versions for the same. Here's the Hebrew is written in Hebrew, but they have translated and changed it, doctored it 140 times. But the Quran has not been corrupted because Subhanahu wa ta'ala has said he would not allow this to happen. Nobody can come to us. Why? Because we have native speakers who speak the Arabic language. We have those non-Arabs who speak the Arabic language. So even if they threw our book and burned all our books, we have people who can recite the Quran, Hafiz in the Quran, and it can give us, we can rewrite our book because Subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised that this book will not be corrupted. And you see the Hebrew text has been corrupted. I gave you a verse there. The Tubab scholars have turned around and changed that and made it dark and then added a curse to it. Solomon, Suleiman, as we would call him in Arabic, and this is what I'm going to call him tonight, Suleiman. Suleiman is alayhi salatu salam. We give references to our prophets. He is a prophet of God. What prophet of God is cursed by Subhanahu wa ta'ala? My dear brothers and sisters, Hebrews and Christians, please learn your text. You go to the Song of Solomon in chapter 1 and chapter 1, verse 5. And you ask yourself a question. Solomon, okay, as you call him, Suleiman, as we call him in Islam. This is what Subhanahu wa ta'ala calls him, Suleiman. He is a prophet of God. How could he be cursed at the same time? This is why I say your book is corrupted. But when you pull out the original text in Hebrew, which is very similar to Arabic, you'll be surprised what you find out. You'll be surprised. You'll say, you know, Sheikh Yahya, he was correct in what he said to me. And now I understand by doing this. So tonight we're covering both because it's important. Now I can venture it into the Torah because there's a reason for it. Because why? Suleiman and our beautiful sister, Sheba, Makeda, Sheba, all the names, beautiful names that you want to call our beautiful ancestral sister, they enforced the what? The Torah. And in Hebrew, the word for Jewish law is what? Halakha. That's right. Halakha. This is the same thing as in Islamic law. We call the Sharia. Remember the Sharia? This is it. This is the same thing. The ordinances, rules and regulations and crimes and punishment and so forth and so on. Marriage, all of that's encompassed in this word. Same like in Arabic, what we call Sharia Islamiyah. So we have that. Those two enforce that. This is why I say, my brothers and sisters that are Hebrew and Christian, in order for you to profess this and to profess it good and to please subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have to pull that book out. You got to stop listening to those Tubab so-called scholars who have misled you for hundreds of years and pick up that text and learn the Hebrew. You have to, my brothers and sisters. This is just a short course. I just gave you Hebrew here, and they turn that around. You get this text, and if you want, you translate it. You'll see what it means. How could it mean dark? They just changed it. And then if you look at the rest of the text, how did it come to be that Sولمان said he was cursed when he didn't? He didn't say that. So I'm making a point to you, my brothers and sisters. This is important because Sولمان is a prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam, of God. We recognize him that. Subhanahu wa ta'ala is recognizing that. We say alayhi salatu wasalam behind him because this is reference to him, that we want peace to be upon him. He was not cursed as the Tubabs have tried to say he was cursed. Because why? When they couldn't translate this document the way they want, then they added the curse of Ham. Okay, Sheba. Okay, she's cursed because she's black. Ham. All that. They changed even the language. They even changed the race and call us Hamites. This is disgraceful. But me as a Muslim today, I'm want to correct that. So all the Christians and Hebrews who may look at this, you may be able to get this, and you start to do your research, because I'm not picking on you per se, but now I have the ammunition to ask you questions about this, because Solomon was what? Hebrew, and he followed what? The Torah. What did he enforce? Halakha. Sheba, she converted to what? Hebrew, okay, to Judaism. She converted to that. What did she enforce? Halakha, meaning Jewish law. Now, what did he speak? He spoke Hebrew. What did she end up learning to speak? As well, Hebrew, and probably of another language, because she came out of Habasha, which is Geese. So, my brothers and sisters, again, you've been bamboozled, those Christians and Hebrews. And I, as your brother, as giving you this information so that way you can go and hit the books. I get angry when my brothers misguided, dalal, as we call this in Arabic, when I see my brothers and sisters who I love dearly, who came on the same slave ships as me, have been misguided. I see them adopting, talking, just accepting what these what we call shimal. You see this word I put here? I put in Arabic also in transliteration. It means a deceitful man. It's in Hebrew. I put it there in the chat. You look, you see this word, you Christians and Jews, this is what you should be calling these so-called scholars who have bamboozled you for hundreds of years, because this is what they are. They are low degraded people who took subhanahu wa ta'ala's word, changed it around to start putting curses on black people inside the Torah and the Bible. It's shameful, my brothers and sisters. So I wanted to get that out to prove a point to you that your brother here is on it. I know. I've studied the Torah. I've studied the Hebrew language, and I've studied this for years. And I've just sit back and I've been quiet. I only said something here and there, and that's it. But tonight I got to talk about it, because we talking about our ancestral sister, Sheba, our ancestor, Saba, or Makeda, the three names, those beautiful names that she's known by. And what she do? She adopted this religion, and she took subhanahu wa ta'ala, she became a Muslimah, but again, under the guise of subhanahu wa ta'ala. But she did aslamt. She meant surrender to subhanahu wa ta'ala. We know this because of the verses in the Quran. So I'm giving you this little lesson here, my brothers and sisters, to make a point to you that we as black people, as Africans born in America, Africans born on the continent, you have been misled. You have been bamboozled, as our brother Malcolm have said. Until you pick up your text and learn it in the original Hebrew, you're going to continue to be misguided. And I don't know what subhanahu wa ta'ala will say to you on the day of judgment, because he's going to say, did you understand my words? Why did you follow the men who misled you? Because in the Quran, subhanahu wa ta'ala said these deceitful kuffar, okay? These Salibiyin and all that, who like to change the scriptures around. They will testify against you, my brothers and sisters. You don't want to be there on the day of judgment, and you have this wretched Tubab Salih B, who goes after the Jews and the Orthodox Christians and Muslims. When you go follow him, he's going to testify against you. When you say, no, I didn't do this, he's going to sit there and Yom Kiyama, because Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has told us in the Quran, and he's going to testify against you. So my brothers and sisters, Christians and Jews, you don't want this man to sit there and testify against you. But when he say, yes, I tricked them. Yes, I did this to them. And yes, Yahya, he followed me. My brothers and sisters, Christians and Jews, please, I urge you and beg you, as your dear brother, as your elder, you should go to your text and learn the Hebrew. Stop following this stuff that's in English, that's been translated 140 times. And each time you go to the church, you go in there and when the pastor picks out this verse, chapter 1, verse 5 of you get up to read it, and all of you have different interpretations of this Hebrew. It's shameful, my brothers and sisters. It is absolutely shameful. So I wanted to make my point. I'm not trying to anger anybody, but we're Muslims. The Muslims must tell the truth, even if it's against ourselves, as I always say. I'm telling the truth tonight. I put that verse up there in Hebrew. You go check it out and go from there. And then you come back. If you say, yeah, you're correct. So, all right. With that said, Assalamu alaikum, my dear brother, King Kenyatta. Thank you very much for coming. Brother Salam, thank you. Salam, thank you very much. My sister Amina, thank you very much. And King Kaki El, okay. Tuba, yes, what he says that Tuba did this being slave to their nefs. Yeah, they wanted to rob others of their identity for their desires. This is true what my brother has just said here. They done that to subjugate you, to make you dependent on what they say, not on what Subhanahu wa Ta'ala say. That's why it's dangerous, my brothers and sisters. Anybody, I don't care if the person is Tuba. I'm not trying to pick only on them, even if he's a black man. And we have those black pastors and bishops and all of these others that you, whatever you call them over there, they're misguided as well. And they're the worst ones, because they misguide their people and stuff like this. And they too won't take the Hebrew text. They only go by the English text. And when you go and talk to them and ask them why you use this, and here's this verse in Hebrew, can you read it? No, they cannot. Can you translate this? No, I cannot. These are bishops and pastors of churches. And you ask them a question. You see this verse? What does this verse mean here? This is in Hebrew. And I have to sit there and tell them, oh, this is over here in Luke 19:27. And I'm not even a Christian or Hebrew. I was a Christian many years ago, but I had to leave it because it was just mind-boggling, the misguidance in it. I'm trying to prove a point, my brothers and sisters. The misguidance is among our black people and among white folks as well, and Asians, and all preaching the same thing. Stay away from this stuff. And I urge you, my brothers and sisters, to get that text, learn it in the original. And Hebrew is not that difficult. It's not as difficult as you, because you're a black man and black woman. This is an African Asiatic language. Remember that this is not a European language. And when you begin to speak it, it will come to you. Trust me, it will come to you, because why? Your tongue is built to speak this, because it's an African Asiatic language. Your tongue is built for that. English is not our native tongue. That's why we have a hard time with it. But Hebrew is ours. Arabic is ours. That's right. Aramaic is ours. Ge'ez is ours. All of these are sister and brother and sisters in the Semitic languages, which are African and Asiatic. You see? So I'm just, again, proving my point to you, my brothers and sisters. You pick up this Hebrew because it's an African dialect. You pick it up. Don't let anyone tell you, because you see the Tubab talking crazy. Let him talk crazy. This is an African Asiatic language. Pick it up. Get your culture. Start to learn the true Christianity and Hebrewism, not this stuff what you're doing now. Okay, I've said enough on that. I probably have 1,000 my brothers who are misguided come after me. That's fine, Danny, because I'll ask them, hey, let's pick up this book. You go get yours. I'll get it in Hebrew, and let's go at it. And this is what I would do, and see what they have to say. They won't be able to talk, because the only thing they'll do is bring up a book that the Tubab is giving them and say, hey, this is what I go by. It's shameful. Us Muslims, we don't have that problem. Because why? We have subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhanahu wa ta'ala is brought down this beautiful book, as I said in my speech when it first started. It's a Furqan. It's a kitab that is designed to uplift all human beings. It's a mercy to mankind. Therefore, we learn it, we enforce it. This is what we're supposed to do as Muslims. We are not supposed to be misguided like this. And many Muslims are, because they don't pick up even the Quran too. And it's a time where I'll be talking about that as well, because they don't pick up the Quran. I've mentioned this many times, and they don't understand it. Even Arab speakers have difficulty even reading it because they've been misguided. They stop to pray and so forth and so on. So, okay, my brothers and sisters. Now, the story of Sheba, Saba, Akeda, you have to include Solomon in this. And we have a response to the story, an Islamic response. We have two particular chapters in the Quran dealing with this. And the first one is Saba. Funny, isn't it? Subhanahu wa ta'ala is Saba. Saba, that's right. This is the Surah of Sولمان. And why? It's number 34. And we'll go a little bit over this. And this is number 34. And why I'm starting with this one first and not the second one, which is chapter 27, is because there's a reason why I'm trying to get you to think about something. I was talking about death and what's going to happen to us. We're going to be questioned. I want to be questioned. And when I'm questioned, I don't want a wretched kafir, okay, Salibi, to come to testify against me. I followed him. And this is going to happen because subhanahu wa ta'ala said these people will testify against you. I don't want that. So here we pick up the book and we learn so that way I can testify, because the Quran will help you in Yom Kiyama. It will help you. That's right. It will testify in your behalf because you spoke the words of subhanahu wa ta'ala continuously all through your life until the time you die. This is important to know. You must do this, my brothers and sisters who are Muslims. And I suspect the same thing, that the Bible will be your saving grace as well if you pick it up in the language of subhanahu wa ta'ala sent it down. He did not send down the Torah, okay, in English, my brothers and sisters. He did not. He sent it down in Hebrew. So what are you doing? I mean, be honest. What are you doing? It was sent down in Hebrew for you to understand. You have to learn this, my brothers, Christians and Hebrews. You got to do that. So, assalamu alaikum, my dear brother. Abla, how are you doing, my dear brother? Thank you for showing up. Saba is a very interesting surah for the Muslims and for the Christians and Jews. And this is, again, chapter 34. And the first one here we'll look at here is verse 14. This is the death of Sولمان. You say, well, why are we not talking about Sheba? We are going to talk about Sheba, but I have to bring something up to you about subhanahu wa ta'ala and how he gives us things and get us to think about things in life. Here's what he said. Qala subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is, again, chapter 14, Surah 34, verse 14. I'll read it in English. Then we will decree Solomon's death. Nothing showed them his death except a little worm of the earth, which kept slowly going away at his staff. So when he fell down, the jinns saw plain that if they had known the unseen, they would have not tarried in the humiliating penalty. Now, if you read the tafsir of this, okay, the tafsir, which we're supposed to, and then you're supposed to find something comparable inside the Quran as well, and then you find the another verse, or you go to the hadith talking about this verse. Here is a lesson for all of us. Those who depend on going after, again, the jinn, okay, those the unseen, Those who, okay, we have the Shaitan, which work with the devil. We have jinn who are good and bad, and we follow them. Many of us follow them, what they whisper to us, and some of them are bad. Here, this is what you do not do. You be careful what you do, and you hear the whispers. You must be cognizant of this. Now, our prophet Sولمان passed. Subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed it, and he got him in a certain condition to make an example, not of him per se, but as a learning tool. Because you remember something, my brothers and sisters, about the Quran. It's 1/3 history, isn't it? 1/3 history. Why is that? There's a reason why Subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed it that way, because he wants the lessons for us, like in this time, 1400 years, to ponder on, so we don't make the same mistakes. That's why we have a lot of history. Here, Subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed the death of Sولمان. And he talked about how he had Sولمان and those around him. I'll get into, you say, well, what's the connection between the jinn and Sولمان? I'll get into that, because Sولمان was some type of prophet. He was a man. He made mistakes like all of us. And we have chronicles, of course. We have the Kebra Neges, our brothers in Habasha, Ethiopia. They wrote, I think in the 14th century, I believe it was, outlining this. Also about Queen Sheba, and so forth and so on. And I'm not going to get into a lot of the stuff that was alleged about our prophet Sولمان, because they said he had over 700 wives. He was a lover of women and all this. Allah alam. I don't know. I cannot, we don't know. Subhanahu wa ta'ala does not talk about this. We know what some have wrote and said, but we don't know for sure if this is the case or not, and whatnot. And whatever was decreed by Subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's what we go by. And so I'll leave that alone. Now, the next verse is, I want to prove a point about our sister Sheba, Saba Makeda. I want to prove a point about something. The next one is 15. Subhanahu wa ta'ala says, there was Saba. Saba is, again, the area. I'll get into that a little bit. Saba, a foretime, that means before, a sign in their homes land 2 gardens of right and to the left. Eat of the substance provided by your Lord and be grateful to him, a territory fair and happy, and a Lord often forgiving. Our scholars have talked about this verse. It's very interesting. Now, we talk about the time of Solomon's passing, okay? Alayhi salatu wasalam. And what happened to this land, because this is the land that our ancestral sister Sheba governed. Yes. But she was not governing when this was decreed. What happened was, again, we have to go to the next verse. Here, the tafsir is saying, Subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed this land. And even today, if you look at the text, the hadiths, there's a lot of things about Yemen. We see the turmoil that's going on in Yemen today. Never mind that. It's going to get cleaned out. Believe me, because our prophet ﷺ has talked about that. It will be cleaned out. Seba is in the area of southern Yemen. Some say it's on the coast where the Djibouti, in that area like this. There's many things talking about that. But the Muslims believe it was, Yemen, as we understand Yemen today. And so this territory, they said in the tafsir, that each house didn't have no vermin in it. Not one fly flew in it. Not one mosquito flew in it. Not one land lizard or anything. No, not spiders or nothing invaded their homes. Now you have to ask the question, why was it so blessed? This is after our dear sister left. So I am under the impression, I could be wrong. I'm under the impression that our dear sister, Sheba, Makeda, Sheba, that she governed the land to please Subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he blessed this land. He blessed her and he blessed this land because she came. She aslamt. She came to Islam, oneness of subhanahu wa ta'ala, and she governed under his law that they knew at that time that subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them. So therefore, he blessed that land. Now, it's a lesson for us, dear Muslims. If you follow the Sharia of Allah, I say in Arabic now, because we're talking about Muslims now. We're not about the Hebrews and the Christians, which remember, halakha is the Sharia for the Jews, the Jews and Christians. Our Sharia Islamia. If we govern by that, we will get this type of substance where we have a bounty of food. Each house that we go in, there's not one spider roaming in it. There's no roaming, biting ants in it. There's no mosquitoes in it. There's no flies hovering around in it to bother you or go and get into your food. You see, subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us again a lesson about history. What happens here? Now, the next verse, he says, turn, which is 16. He says, but turned away from Allah. They did. We sent against them the flood released from the dams, and we converted their 2 garden rows into producing bitter fruit, tamarisk, and some stunted lote trees, which are very bitter. You see, after they left the Torah, after they left the halakha in Hebrew, after they left that, this is what subhanahu wa ta'ala did for punishment. A lesson for the Muslims. Lessons for the Muslims to learn from this, especially our leaders. They should see this. They should see these 2 verses and ask questions. What should they be doing to get this bounty? Because subhanahu wa ta'ala gave it here, he will give it to us too if we do the same thing. If our leaders are righteous, he will bless that righteous leader plus his people, because the people follow those above us who are righteous. That's usually the rule for that. So I wanted to prove a point about this. And you look down further down, just talk about this, and I can go on and on because this is a class all by itself. But I was just trying to make a point here to talk about these two verses because it's important. Now we go back to what has happened in the relationship between Sheba and our dear prophet Sulaimman alayhi salatu wasalam. We know that we get into this now. Our prophet, our ancestral brother Sulaimman, was gifted with powers that was unbelievable. He could speak to the jinn and he controlled them. And he also had power over the animals and insects. And even the birds that flew. Subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him this. That's right. He gave him this. He gave him this power. And you know the famous hadith, and you also know what Subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran about him. And so what happened was this day, our prophet Sulaiman, alayhi salatu wasalam, saw one of his birds. And I have a hard time always pronouncing it. Every time I see it, I look at it and I always laugh. I don't know why this particular bird, he has the name he has. But this name, I always have a hard time. I don't know why, because when I hear it, I kind of laugh. And I even talk to my wife. My wife, I hear her pronounce it, I laugh. I don't know why, but I laugh. And this bird was missing. And again, Sulaimman knows when they go out or they're out on an excursion or something, he has birds to scout ahead to look for water and a place, and they come back to report to him. That's right. Subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him this power. He gave them this power. And so this day, this one bird didn't show up. So Sulaimman, decided, he's going to punish him. He's going to punish him. He came back to Prophet Sulaimman, alayhi salatu wasalam, and told him that he was in Saba. There was a kingdom, ruled by a woman. And here he talks about what was said to him. This is in the chapter 27, and chapter 27 in verses. Really, you can almost start from, like, for me, I like to start from around verse 10 all the way to 44, because it's all pertinent. But I won't go through all of that because it's a lot. But the bird came and told him about this particular woman who was governing, and the land and the throne that she was on. Now, I have to ask my brothers and sisters, please forgive me for something, because I don't have the steam yard yet. And, I'm kind of lazy because, I'm an old man now. Sometimes I'm tired, especially if I stay up real late or something. And plus, I'm always doing something dealing with subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also DNA test and everything else. I got a lot of things going, but I'm going to have to get this, because I should be showing you maps, because I know a lot of times we don't understand the geographic of Africa. We're very weak in that, especially Black people. We are very weak. But on the east coast of Africa, as we see it today, you know where Ethiopia is, and you know where Egypt is. Most of us can probably figure that out. And our sister was king. She was queen, and she governed this area of Habasha. We call it in Arabic Ethiopia, or Kush, whatever name you want to call it. But also it encompassed southern part of what we call Saudi Arabia today, and Yemen. So she was governing all of that. And you say, well, I don't understand that, because I only hear the word Saba. Well, we have proof of that, and that's head of the story. But we know Sheba had a son. Where did that son govern from? Where was he given the throne from? He was in Habasha, in Ethiopia. He was not in southern Yemen. You see what I'm talking about? So that's why that's a little head of the story. But but I wanted to make a point to say to you that there's a lot of talk about Saba, where it's at, because even the two Bible historians make references it's at other places. They even said Iran. That's not possible, because where I say that, because even in that time, we know is Iran, even the Black people there, because he wrote the document, said that even all the way up to present day Iran, the people were Black, but their hair was not as curly as those he saw, and kinky as he saw those in in Egypt. So anyway, we get into a part now where the bird came back and he told Solomon, والسلام, he told about this kingdom, but they were not governing at the time under Tawheed, oneness of God. They were not governing under that at that time. And there was when our ancestral prophet Sولمان heard what was said, he said, okay. And he wanted to check to see if this was true or not. And he talks about this in these beautiful heights in the Quran, starting like from 22, subhanahu wa ta'ala here says, but the hopeful, and I hate that word. It makes me laugh. Tari, not far. He said, I am compassed the territory which thou hast not compassed. I have come to thee from Saba with tidings true. Now, this is what this bird has said to our prophet Sولمان, alayhi salatu. He talks about the land that was governed by our ancestor, sister Sheba. That's what he's talking about. Then he goes further in here and he says, I found, this is 23. Now, again, we're talking about chapter 27. We had verse 23. Subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I found a woman ruling over them and provided with every requisite, and she has a magnificent throne. Now, let's talk about our sister here, and I'll break from that. We know her to be beautiful, stunningly beautiful, very appealing. But her greatest gifts was not her physical attributes. Her greatest gifts was her intellect. and her savvy. This was what was that was impressive about her. And she ruled the land, and she ruled it correctly, but she was very ingenious. Our ancestral sister Sheba, Mlekah, or Sheba, names you want to call, any name you want to call, those beautiful names. She was very ingenious, very smart. Subhanahu wa ta'ala recognized that. That's why he mentions this in the Quran to give us a lesson. And also for our dear sisters, especially for you, our dear sisters in Islam, our dear sisters in Christianity, and our Hebrew brothers and sisters as well. This is a lesson that this woman here was a special woman, and it's something that we should emulate. I don't know why, and I ask myself many times, why haven't our ancestral sisters made it a point to name their child after this beautiful woman? I never could understand that. Why do they take the names from Russia and they don't take her name? Subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed her. He's talking about her here in the Quran. Sheba is an African Asiatic word. It's not Russian. It's African Asiatic. Mlekah is Geese. That's what? Afro-Asiatic. It's in your repertoire. You are Black. These are names that you should be naming our children, our daughters. These are beautiful names. This is a beautiful, beautiful Black ancestral sister. Brilliant. And she ruled a vast land. And Subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about her here. This is how important she is in the history, talking about Islam, because there's lessons to learn. So I hope I made my point, my brothers and sisters, because I'm a stickler about this, about what we should be naming, especially in modern times now. Get away from those Russian names and those Irish names and those French names and those Spanish names. You are not that. You have ancestral sisters like this. You name your daughters after this beautiful sister here. This is what you do, so you can push her to emulate that. We don't want her emulating Beyonce and these other sisters. That I'm not saying they're bad, but they're not somebody we should be emulating. This is who we should be emulating. Our sisters should be emulating this. You see how she governed. You see how she was. You pick up the doc and start reading about her. She was a brilliant sister. She was not talking crazy and stuff like that. She was very intelligent. She didn't have to do that. So now back to chapter 27, and now we verse 24. Subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I found her people worshiping the sun besides Allah. Satan has made their deeds even pleasing in their eyes and has kept them away from the path as they receive no guidance. Now, that's a lesson, my brothers and sisters. She was misguided at this time. She had her people were worshiping the sun. We know that this sun worship was a big thing. We know that in that part of the world, sun worshiping was a big thing. It's misguidance, big time. And it's shirk billah. Shirk billah. It is that. So from this point here, he also, this is the bird talking. 25, Subhanahu wa ta'ala says, keep them away from the path, talking about Shaitan, the devil, that they should not worship Allah, who brings to light what is hidden in the heavens and earth, knows what ye hide and what ye reveal. This is very interesting. This is what this beautiful bird has said. He's talking about our ancestral sister and her land. Very important, very important. Now we go in further here. We go now 26, again, chapter 27, for those that showed up now, and verse 26, he says, Allah, there's no God but he, Lord of the throne supreme. Now, this is a declaration because any of the people who know the Muslims, we always, when there's something that come out, we'll come and talk about, we'll say this, like a verse like this, we'll say, La ilaha illallah, Muhammad and Rasulullah. We can say that. And we say that not as to misuse it, but we say this, and especially in times like this, where you have shirk billah, you have shirk billah brought before you. So what you do, you because of your faith and your covenant with subhanahu wa ta'ala. This instinctively comes out of the Muslim's mouth. He will say this. He'll give the shahada. He'll give the shahadatain. La ilaha illallah. You'll hear him say that when there's shirk billah. That means signing partners in Arabic to those who don't understand it. Shirk billah. This is what we say in Arabic. This is in Quranic Arabic. And this is what this situation is here. Because now they've been brought forth that they are practicing shirk billah. So this is proper. This is, again, a lesson for the Muslims. What happens when this time, when you witness, when you're brought forward with some shirk billah, you say these words to protect you from it. You see the lesson, my brother and sister, on that? You say these words. La hawla wa quwwata illa billah. These type of things like this we say when we come across this type shirk billah. We say things like this to protect us from that. 27. Now, again, subhanahu wa ta'ala, Solomon said, alayhi salatu wasalam, soon shall we, whether thou hast told the truth or not. He's now talking still to the bird. We're going to see if you told the truth or not. This is our brother Solomon, Sulaiman, alayhi salatu wasalam, has talked to this bird who made this report to him. He's saying, we're going to see if you're lying or not. This is what the test here is talking about. He's talking to this bird. We're going to see if you actually tell the truth, because he doesn't know about this place. And now the bird has told him that, so he's going to see if this is true or not. So then we go to 28. Go thou with this letter of mine and deliver it to them. Then draw back from them and wait to see what answer they return. Okay, our ancestral prophet, Sulaiman, alayhi salatu wasalam, he sent a letter now to Sheba. He want to test them, because he was very wise. Now you had two wise, very wise, I don't want to use the word crafty, very ingenious people. Our prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam, and we had Sheba, our ancestral sister. They were very, very wise, ingenious, very calculating. And so these two were a match, you know what I mean? And they had like a chess match going here between them two. This is what was going on between them. It's like a chess match between our ancestral sister Sheba and alayhi salatu wasalam, Sulaiman. So now, number 29, subhanahu wa ta'ala says, the queen, Thomas Sheba, said, yea, chiefs, here's delivered to me a letter worthy of respect. Solomon is not a gangster, alayhi salatu wasalam. He's not an uncouth man. He is not that. And he's not a shemal. That word you see in the thing, I'm using it now, Hebrew word, talking about uncouth, a swindler, a bad man. He's not that. So when he writes a letter, he writes a letter according to subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he writes his letter, and he may be stern in his letter, but he writes it good. Because why? He's blessed by subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's a prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam. So subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed them with the tongue and with the speech and with the writing ability and so forth to do it. Now we know the prophet was unlettered, but he had men to write for him. So in a case like this, he wrote this letter and it was delivered to her. Verse 30, it is from Solomon and as follows: in the name of Allah, remember, most gracious and most merciful. Now, a lesson to you Muslims. I will say to you, if anyone watched some of the things I write in Facebook, I haven't wrote in Facebook in a long time because I've been doing these programs. But if you go down like about a year, you'll see I wrote a lot of things, a lot of issues about Islam. And many times you will see where I start off, Bismillah Rahman Rahim. This is what you do to address your Muslim brother and sister. There's a formula that we use as Muslims when we write one another, even to the disbeliever. That's right, my brothers and sisters. Every little facet, that's why Islam is a living religion. It's not a weekend religion, it's a living religion. And when we write letters, there's a formula that we use in order to get the ajr for subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's a class in itself. But if you look at my letters, you'll see how I dress those letters. And you see how you always venerate subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then secondly, you venerate our prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam. And if you're going to quote a verse of the Quran, the proper way under fiqh is you say amabat, meaning after. If you're going to use the Quran, but if you're not going to use the Quran in verse, you don't have to say that. This mistake, that's another thing. I don't want to get into that much, but this mistake happens many times. We'll say amabat, but we don't finish it with that verse. But the sooner is that we finish with that verse in the Quran. So we use that. If you don't have a verse in that letter that you're going to quote to your brother or your sister, then don't use amabat. You start into your khutbah, or your letter to your brother, what you want him to say to him. That was just a quick lesson in our etiquette when we write letters. Now it's going to get interesting here. 31, my brothers and sisters. 31. Again, chapter 27, verse 31. Subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Be ye not arrogant against me, but come to me in submission to the true religion." Our prophet Sولمان, alayhi salatu wasalam, has wrote to Sheba, and he said, "Don't be arrogant against me." He didn't mean that in a bad way. He did not mean that bad way. He said, "But come to me in submission," not in a sexual manner. This is where sometimes we got things confused with that, because there's time that would happen. But in this situation, Subhanahu wa ta'ala is not talking about this in this particular instance. Our scholars have said that when he's talking about here, that submission again is aslamt. Anna, aslamt. In Islam, when I use this word in Arabic, aslamt, it means surrender, but when we use it for Islam, it means surrendering to what? Peace, and to Subhanahu wa ta'ala, to Islam. But when we use it for turning somebody in, I turned in Abdullah or something like this to the police. We can use this term, but I don't like to use it because when I hear this word being used, we use this to mean for the person says he has surrendered to Islam. And when someone come to me and they say, "Yahya, you was a Christian, what happened?" I say, "Hey, innani aslamt," meaning I surrendered to Islam. This is what has happened here in verse 31, where he's asking her to come to Islam and come to him in submission, not meaning sexually, not meaning being under his foot. No, it's not what he means, but by talking about submission to Subhanahu wa ta'ala, being a Muslim, being a Muslimah. That's what he's talking about here. And I will stop at this one here, 32. She said, "Yea, chiefs, advise me in this my affair. No affair have decided except in your presence." Here, our ancestral sister has got a pretty interesting letter from our prophet Sولمان. She's weighing it because why? She's been blessed with patience and ingenuity. So she's trying to figure out, what is he trying to do? Because remember, they were worshiping the sun. So they were shirk billah, odu billah. That's what her country was doing. See? So she got this letter from this man, and this is a lesson for our sisters too. Why I say that? Our dear sisters, when you get something from a man that you do not know about, you go check it out. This is what our ancestral sister is teaching us here. That's right. When you get a brother who writes you a letter and he wants a proposal of marriage, okay, you don't take it from face value by what he says. You check it out. If he comes with a messenger and some brother comes to you and say, "Hey, Zainab, my friend, his name is Muhammad, and he wants to marry with you, and he's that, and so forth and so on." Don't take that at face value. What has happened here? Sheba is saying that she's got chiefs, sure, and they're going to advise her because she's got this letter now from this man, a king. But again, he's a man. She's a woman. She's wondering what's going on with him. This is a lesson for us, even as our brothers, that when we come forward and we go to our sisters here, especially for marriage, okay, and dealings with them. We should be honest with them. Because if we get checked out to be a liar, we're going to displease subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a lesson for our sisters, so that way when she receives my message, okay, my risala, okay, in Arabic, she gets that from me. She should be worried about that. Worry. Don't take it on face value. Because why? Men can be deceptive, as women can be too. Men can also, because they may have ulterior motives. You need to be very careful. This is what here she's being cautious. She's having her counsel to look at it. So this here, I'll take a little break. I'm going to see what some of the brothers have to say here. Oh, Salam Alaikum, Bayou Beezy. We look good when the age love from America. Oh, gee. Yeah. And thank you, my dear brother here, Sundata Method. He's got a program too, my brothers and sisters. He's starting out. He's got his Islamic program. You should try to support our dear brother. He's got a variety of different topics. And so you should try to support him in his endeavor. Give him your love. He's your brother, and he's got Islamic programs, and he talks in length on some issues, and you should support your brother, and you should subscribe to him. You got here King Akaki El, may Allah protect us from the whisper and whispers from yes, our brothers and sisters. We should always look and be aware that the shaitan, the devil, is always around it, and his minions are too. We should be very, very careful, because the minions of the devil, the shaitan, will tell us everything to do wrong. He will not guide you right. He will tell you to do things wrong. They're not there to what? To guide you to the right path. They're there to guide you away from the wrong path, as our brother was talking about here. And also then we got here, what else? What else we got here? We got, okay, looks good. Okay, all right. Now, okay. I'm going to get ready to end it with one more thing here, because I'm going to continue this, because this lesson is very valuable, my brothers and sisters. It's a very valuable lesson, and we got about 8-9 more verses, but it should be explained, because this is a history that we're ignorant as a people. Generally speaking, we are very ignorant of, and we only know the story and some of the lies that have been told by these shemet. Okay, what I just used in Hebrew about these men, low-grade men who misuse subhanahu wa ta'ala's word and change things around and hoodwink us at the same time. So I'm gonna stop at this here, and we will go on inshallah and perhaps Sunday if subhanahu wa ta'ala lets me do this and whatnot, because I want to go slow on this, because I want our brothers and sisters to see how the history in the Quran, how it works, how subhanahu wa ta'ala has used this history to guide us. And then when we get the tafsir behind it, there's meanings behind this. When subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about Sheba, okay, and he talks about a prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam, he talks about that. You see how he's trying to teach you. So you have to open up your mind, and you have to open up your heart, and you have to ask subhanahu wa ta'ala, okay, I want this. I want to have this covenant with you, subhanahu wa ta'ala. I want to understand. I want to understand what has happened in the history, so that I can learn from it. Because you must have a covenant with subhanahu wa ta'ala, you Muslims, you Jews, and you Christians. All three of us must. We are ordered to have this covenant. And most of us today are outside of this covenant, and it's shameful. We have to return back to it. We must return back to it. If you Hebrew, you must get back to your scriptures, and you must take it in Hebrew, so that way you can discern. And our Muslim brothers and sisters, you too, you must learn the Arabic in order for you to understand subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, there's a lot of teachers out there today who can give you, they have Arabic, but they translate for you in English to help you to discern, for you to do what? So that you can learn and discern. But you should be able to pick up that book and learn the Arabic. It's important, my brothers and sisters. because lessons like this, you should read it in its original text. The Arabic for this particular, for all of the Quran, but in this particular, is beautiful. When you read it, it's very melodic, because Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has given us a story. He's given us something for us to learn. So his wording for it is beautiful. The wording here that he's given, talking about Solomon, alayhi and his situation, and the jockeying that's going on between him and Sheba. The wording in Arabic is beautiful. It's beautiful. And when you read in English, it's like you muddy it up. You know what I mean? It's not the same. So anyway, I'll stop here at 32. No, excuse me. I think I'm gonna do one more, because this is important, because I want this out. I want you to think about this. Again, this is chapter 27 for those who have forgotten, or those who just came. And the verse is 34. Subhanahu wa Ta'ala says, she said, and they're talking about Sheba, okay, our ancestral sister, Queen of Sheba. She said, she said, we are endued with strength and given to vehement war, but the command is with thee. So consider what thou wilt command. Now, you know what the test fear on this? I'm going to show you this, how ingenious and wise and wisdom. Here, she's about to do something. She's going to return something to test our prophet Sulaimon. And she's telling her people that, look, if he does certain things here, and I'll get into that in a couple of days, inshallah ta'ala, I'll finish this up. But she's saying here, okay, I'm going to do this, but if he takes the gift that I'm about to send, then we know what he is. We fight him. But if he doesn't take the gift, then we know he is a prophet, and we will follow him. This is the beautiful words coming from our ancestral sister, Sheba, Mekeda, Saba, the names that you want to call our beautiful ancestral sister. You see how wise and ingenious she was, how blessed she was. This is the words that she said. How wise. She said, if this man he's the king, if he accepts these gifts, we fight him, because she knows he's not sincere. But if he's a prophet, he's not going to take the gifts, and we will follow him. This is beautiful, my brothers and sisters. And I'll leave you with this particular verse, and we'll get more into it, inshallah, the ayah, when we cover this again, number 33, because we have about 8 more verses to go. And there's some other things here that we got to talk about. But I wanted to prove my point today on this lesson, because it's a lot of lessons in there. This is also encompassing all 3 sister religions, which is Christianity, okay, Judaism, and Islam. This relationship here embodies all 3 of us. This relationship between the 2 also helps to educate all 3 of us, the Hebrews, the Christians, and the Muslims. This is how important this is. That's why we can't skirt it over in one session. Matter of fact, we should have many sessions, but I can't do this. We have to go on, but because I want you to go and start to study on your own. But this is so important. And I feel so honored that I can talk about our ancestral sister, Sheba, okay, Saba or Mekeda. Why I say that? Because as an African man, I don't have enough time to talk about our beautiful African sisters. And to me, in some ways, it's sinful the way I see it. That I should be talking more about them, because I want our Black sisters, our African sisters, to start to look towards them. And I'm remiss because I don't talk much about our ancestral sisters, our great, brilliant ancestral sisters. I should. So I have to ask, please forgive me for that, because I should be doing more of it to bring this forward for our sisters to see these examples. And as a couple of people like me, I should be talking about sisters like this. And I've kind of missed the mark because I've been on other things. So I ask for forgiveness for this, because I should be talking about, we have other sisters too that we should be talking about. And I have been neglected not to do it. And so you have to excuse me and forgive me for that. And here again, my brothers and sisters, the lessons that I just talked about here today should move you, should get you to think and to ponder and go back to hit the books. You Christians, you Jews, you Muslims, you go hit the books, because it's incumbent upon you to do that. Then you can start to understand these beautiful stories like this, and you don't have to go get the shimal, these swindlers. I just said I called them. That's what I called them in Hebrew. These swindlers and stuff like this, who swindle the religion, who misguide you, who've changed the religion around. I'm talking about Judaism and Christianity and so forth and so on. And this way, you yourself, you can start to learn, and then you can discern, and then you go to the rightful scholars to learn. They're out there. There's some sisters I know in the United States who teach this because they speak Hebrew. And I can't think of that sister's name. I think one of the sisters now, I can't think of her name. I wrote her some years back. This sister here is on it. She learned Hebrew, and she teaches the right way. She teaches the Injil, the way of Jesus, alayhi salatu wassalam. And she looks at these documents like this, and she translates straight from the original text of Hebrew. So that way you get the right translation, not this stuff like these guys have done here, where this chapter 1, verse 5 in the Songs of Solomon, where they butchered it up. The Hebrew is clear. If you understand the Hebrew, I just put it up there. If you look in the chat, you look there. It says, I'm black, but comely. It says, okay, how did it become I'm dark, but comely? And then after that, saying that a prophet of God, prophet of Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, is cursed, that he would even utter such words like this. You got to get the Hebrew. You have to get the Hebrew, because that little bit there should tell you, brothers, who Christians and Jews, there's something wrong with your belief system. No prophet will go and say and utter when he's been blessed by Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, turn back around, because that means he's ungrateful. If he turns around and say he's cursed, then how can that be? What prophet says that? There's none. None of the prophets say he's cursed. They're not cursed. They're given bounty. And they even suggest their ungratefulness, they will get in trouble with Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, even at Yom Kippur. But they didn't do this. So how is it that they wrote this? These shimal, these shimal, who these people who write this? How can they write about the prophet of God, prophet Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, prophet of Jehovah, any names you want to name Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, and calls himself and say that he's cursed? Brothers and sisters, this is something, again, why I'm harsh about the scriptures, because we should be. We African people, we need to wake up out of this. Stop following the crooked Tubab scholars. Okay? You follow the rightful scholars. There's those out there, even Tubab, and there's also black. I'm talking about Hebrew and Christianity. They're out there. You follow them because they've been guided. They're doing the right thing. But some of the crooked ones, you stop to follow them. The ones that drive the big old cars and talking a lot of stuff, making millions every year off your back, dressing in $5,000, $6,000 suits and so forth and so on. And you get these scriptures and he misguides you. That's why the young brothers leave the church, because they know what's happening with that. They say, even though they may not understand what's going on in the Bible, they know, they look at this brother here and they say, man, look at this guy. He ain't for real. So they walk out of the church. See, so this is the problem. And you say, well, Yahya, why are you so harsh about the Christians and Jews? I'm harsh on the Muslims too. But this is a situation here where we have to talk the truth, because we have an ancestral black brother. Now, in Prophet Sulaimman, this should clear up this thing about Ham. I should not hear anybody use that word to describe a black man. Oh, you a Hamite. This is the term that the Tubab has laid on us. We're not Hamites. We're not cursed by God. Sولman should clear it up because he tells you in that verse, he can't be cursed. He tells you, he says, I'm black but comely. Now, if that's not a nationalistic, but not meaning black nationalism per se, but he's telling you who he is. He says, I'm black but comely. That's beautiful. That's why we say black is beautiful, right? He just said that in this verse, my brothers and sisters, especially when you read it good in Hebrew. It says in Hebrew, if you look at there, you pull it up there, translate it. I got there in Hebrew at the chat, the top of the chat. I put some things in there about Hebrew, and you read that and you look at the translations of that. It says, I'm black but comely. Interesting, my brothers and sisters. So, my brothers and sisters, I will say goodbye to all of you, and I will. Oh, how you doing, my brother Talib? Salam alaikum. Yes. Now, our brother here, brother Talib, used this word here, Belkas. This is a term that the Muslims use to describe Sheba. And to be honest with you, my brothers and sisters, I don't quite like it. I'm gonna tell you why I don't quite like it. Because the Tubab, the racist Tubab has taken this word here to degrade Sheba, our sister, and to degrade her by calling her a concubine. Can you believe that? Here she's a queen. She is a queen, but they use this particular word here to change it around. I prefer to use it, but in Islam we use this, but we also use Saba. I prefer to say that word because it does her honor because that's her name. But the name here is given to her. The Tubab, the racist Tubab historians have taken this and said and called her a concubine. That's right. Called her a concubine. That's why I get angry and I talk the way I talk, because this misguidance that they try to lay on us, they've laid on us for 400, 500 years, my brothers and sisters. We should be very cognizant of that. Very, very cognizant of that. And be very careful of that. And be mindful of their tricks. They've tricked us for a long time. And even this small little lesson here, my brothers and sisters, you get it and you jump on it and you start to study and you start hitting the books. And also my brother here, Talib, okay. He's I'm gonna get into that next my next show, my brother, inshallah ta'ala, if we're all in life. My brother Talib, he has his show as well. If you subscribe to this brother as well, he's got his program going on. So you give our brothers who are on YouTube, our Muslim brothers, they're coming forward. They're trying to give us the right thing. You should support them because we should be doing that. We all came on the same slave ships, right? So now we have our brother Talib here. He has his own show. Subscribe to him, and also to our brother Sundata and his program, and the brothers who have good platforms, who are gentlemen. Okay, they're not from the hood. They're not gangsters. They're not doing gangster rap. They ain't talking with the Negro dialect and all this kind of down the river stuff. They're not doing that. They're giving you something for you can learn and to be proud of. So support them, my brothers and sisters. We should do that. You should support them. So this is another brother you should go ahead and try to emulate. So my brothers and sisters who showed up today and those who show up in the future, I hope that you got something on this. And my brothers and sisters, if you like what you hear from me and you like the straightforwardness of my speech, you go and subscribe and you share my video to other brothers and sisters, because I'm here to teach. I'm an elder now. Okay, I'm an elder. This is the job of the elders. They should be doing this. We should be giving us lessons for the young generation so you don't make the same mistakes, but to educate, because there's a lot of misguidance out there. I should be doing this, and this is what I want to do. If you want, you spread it. If you think you like what I do, spread this. Give it to somebody and let them learn from this, because this is what this is about. I'm an elder. I should be out here teaching, and that's what I'm doing. I'm spending my life, rest of my life, doing this, working for Islam. This is what I do. every single day, work for Islam. And so I want to educate you guys in the United States and other places. If you think this is worthy enough, you share it with family, share it with friends so they can get this and look at it. If you have some disagreements, there's no problem. Get a hold of me, write me, give me your proofs, and tell me what you think. Okay, my dear brothers and sisters, there's no problem. I'm your brother. I'll listen to anything. No craziness. Not that. I'm not talking about that. But you give me something, concrete. If you say, look, this is my proof here, then, we'll discuss that, because this is what we should do if you disagree, because we all make mistakes, and we're not perfect, and things happen. And sometimes we say things that was missaid. So you correct us. This is the right thing to do. So my brothers and sisters who showed up today, and those who show up in the future, I will leave you with our beautiful words in the Afro-Asiatic language of Arabic. Assalamu alaikum. Rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.